What if I told you that a single text message could change your entire life? That one moment, one decision, could pull you into something far bigger than you ever imagined. That's exactly what happened to me. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why I can never look at the world the same way again. It started like any other day. I was scrolling through my phone, mindlessly checking notifications, when a message popped up from an unknown number. Do you know the truth? I stared at it for a moment, confused. Truth about what? I figured it was spam or some kind of prank, so I ignored it. A minute later, another text. You shouldn't ignore this. Check under your desk drawer. Now I felt my stomach tighten. How did they know about my desk? Who was this? I looked around my room, suddenly feeling watched. Still, my curiosity got the better of me. With hesitant hands, I reached under the drawer and felt something taped to the bottom. It was a folded up piece of paper, a note. I peeled it off and unfolded it, my heart pounding. Inside were just 4 words. You were never alone. A shiver ran down my spine. What did that mean? Who had put this here? Had it been there this whole time, or had someone left it recently? I immediately texted back. Who is this? No response. I tried calling the number, straight to voicemail. For the next few hours, I couldn't think about anything else. The words kept repeating in my head. You were never alone. I tried to be logical about it. Maybe my parents had put it there years ago, but why? And why was I getting a message about it now? Then, late that night, my phone buzzed again. You need to remember. I sat up in bed, my breath shallow. Remember what? Then another text. Look inside the old shoebox. Now, here's the thing. There was an old shoebox in the back of my closet. I hadn't opened it in years. It was full of random childhood stuff. Drawings, notes, little things I had forgotten about. But now I was terrified to open it. Still, I couldn't stop myself. I got up, walked to the closet, and pulled the box out. Inside, everything looked normal, until I noticed a small envelope at the bottom. One I didn't remember ever putting there. I pulled it out, my hands shaking, and slid my finger under the seal. Inside was a photograph. And the moment I saw it, my entire body went cold. It was a picture of me as a kid, around 7 or 8 years old, playing in the backyard. But there was something wrong, because standing behind me was a man I didn't recognize. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking at me, watching me. I felt sick. Who was he? How long had he been there? And how did this photo end up in my shoebox? I flipped it over, and there was a message written on the back in shaky handwriting. You saw him too. I dropped the photo. My mind was racing. I had no memory of this man. But something deep inside me, the part of me that felt before it could think, knew this wasn't a joke. And then, my phone buzzed again. The warning, do not look for him. I stared at the message, my hands cold and clammy. Look for who? The man in the picture? The person texting me? I felt like I was losing my mind. I needed answers, so I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I grabbed the photograph and went straight to my parents. The truth comes out. I showed them the picture, waiting for them to tell me it was fake or a mistake. But instead, my mom's face went pale. She snatched the picture from my hands, staring at it like she'd seen a ghost. My dad looked at me, then back at her. Finally, my mom whispered, "Where did you find this?" I told her. The desk drawer, the shoebox, the messages. I expected her to tell me it was nonsense, but instead, she sighed. And then, in the quietest voice, she said something that sent chills down my spine. We hoped you wouldn't remember. My heart nearly stopped. Remember what? That's when they told me the truth. When I was a kid, I had an imaginary friend, or at least that's what my parents thought. I would talk to someone when I played outside, describing a man who would watch me from the trees. They brushed it off as childhood imagination, until one day I came inside crying, saying the man got too close, that I didn't want to see him anymore. After that, I never mentioned him again. I never talked about him. Never saw him again. Until now. I sat there in shock. My childhood imaginary friend was real? Had he been watching me all this time? Was he still out there? And then, one final text message came through. He hasn't forgotten you. I stared at the screen, my breath shallow. And that was the last message I ever received. The number was deactivated the next day. I never got answers. I never found out who was texting me or how they knew about my past. But one thing is for sure. Somewhere out there, someone is watching. This experience taught me something important. Sometimes our past isn't really gone. We think we forget things, we move on, we grow up. But the truth is, some things stay with us, even if we don't remember them. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a moment, maybe it's something we buried deep down, hoping it would disappear. But sooner or later, the past has a way of finding us. So ask yourself, what have you forgotten? And more importantly, what's still waiting for you to remember?